Hey, good morning, everyone. So, I hope you all had an amazing weekend. But yeah, so as we can see, we opened up with a huge push to the downside, right? If I go back to the 1 hour time frame, we had this huge push to the downside, and as we can see, this was our new weekly opening gap. Okay, so one of the really cool things is someone in the Discord chat suggested this indicator, which is called no gap candles, no gaps candles. And this is really cool because instead of you having to try to imagine, a huge candle here, right? Instead, we have a big candle that we're able to mark off as our new weekly opening gap. All right, so absolutely love that. But overall, we are still in an uptrend. So on the 4 hour time frame, I love to base my bias off of the 4 hour, right? Because of course, on the 1 hour, we can get pullbacks and all that. But that 1 hour is ultimately telling you the full trend direction. So, yes, we had a push to the downside, but all in all, we're still in an uptrend, right? So, our bias would still be bullish. And so, another thing that I have incorporated into my chart that I really, really love is I've made my main chart, my line chart, and then I'm utilizing that indicator, the no gap indicator, just to be as like my traditional candles, right? And this is the really cool thing. So when I click on my candles chart, I have this huge, candle closure down here, but there was no swing that printed down here, right? But when I have the line chart on, I'm able to see exactly where the swing was created. So that's like a really, really cool trick because I know for some people it's hard to identify swings. And the way that you know you have a swing, for one, is when you have two candle closures. So this will take 2 hours to form. But also, this line chart is definitively signaling that, okay, here's a new higher low on this 4 hour time frame. Okay. So as of now, I'm not thinking about sales or bearish structure, but I do just want to show what you would want to look for in the case that the trend is changing. So I only like to trade based off of market structure. So with that, price is going to show me what it wants to do ultimately, right? And that's what would make me change my bias to enter for sales. So that would look like here on the 4 hour time frame if we got structure to the downside, right? So let's say we got, price broke below this higher low, okay? And for this to officially become a lower low, two candle closures, but then we would get that lower high and then price pulling to the downside once again, breaking below this lower low. That's what would be my signal. Okay, price now wants to continue to the downside. But the thing you have to remember is that trading is not cookie cutter, right? So if price wanted to, she could say, okay, buyers are now back in control at this low because buyers are at the lows. And now price wants to make a new higher high and then continue back on an uptrend. So you ultimately want to stick with what this higher time frame structure is giving you, and if it ever changes, then you adjust, right? And so, of course, as we know, if a higher low gets broken, this would be a market structure shift. All right. And whenever, price is breaking a previous swing low, in this case, this would just be a break of structure because now price would be creating a new lower low, right? Which means that the trend wants to continue further to the downside. So market structure is all that we are going off of. That's it. That's all. So the fact that, let me put this here. So break of structure. So being that price, pushed to the downside, but we did not, break this higher low. And then even here, right? So we have a new higher low, but we're still pushing back to the upside. So I'm always going to stick with the trend overall. I know we went up like 1,500 points over the past week, probably more than that. But my bias is going to continue to be that until price shows me otherwise. All right. So what I'm looking for now is, Let's see, we'll go down to the 1 hour time frame because we also have 4 hour swing levels that we're able to go off of, but this 4 hour swing high is sitting at the same spot as the 1 hour swing high. So I'll just leave it as a 1 hour swing high. But now when I drop down to the 1 hour time frame, we have this 1 hour swing high, right? And then we also have this 1 hour swing high. Now, sometimes when you have two swing highs right next to each other like this could be a signal of selling pressure, right? Because sellers sit at the highs, okay? But I would not just automatically say I'm going to sell once price gets up there, because buyers could be strong enough to break through this. But it's just a little nugget that I would be keeping in the back of my mind. Like, okay, price may indicate out of here on the 1 minute, give me my correction, my continuation, but I'm only shooting for my 1 to 2. Like, I'm not going to try to push it any further because price could get up here, go a few points, wick, and then close below these two levels, being that, there are sellers sitting at both of these relatively close highs. So let me see, I would do this and I would do this. And then I always, I'll just make these like this. But this is ultimately how you read market structure, right? And then I will also do the same thing with this, because sellers are sitting here at both of these highs. That there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Again, sellers sit at the highs, buyers sit at the lows. All right. Oh, let me see. I'm supposed to be doing this. I want to extend to the right. Okay. And so then this is the other thing as well. I have these two levels marked off, but see how we have this huge wick here? So it's already signaling to me that there is selling pressure here at this high. All right. So will buyers have enough steam to be able to break out of here and continue pushing to the upside? We are at all-time highs. A lot of people don't really know how to trade all-time highs. I don't even know really how to trade all-time highs. Of course, I feel that will come with more experience and being on the charts for longer periods of time. But it's not too often that we hit all-time highs. But all I know is you want to just look at the context clues. So being that we are still bullish, that would remain my bias until price shows otherwise. Price could break out of this level, indicate out, correct, continue higher. Price could indicate out of this next swing high on the 1 minute time frame, correct. Maybe continue higher, but then reverse. So I would just be cautious of that. Definitely managing your risk, because risk management is everything. And as we all know, I love to have a 30-point stop loss as a rule of measure when the correction is very small. But yes, you guys, but overall, we're going to see what market structure is ultimately going to do, what price wants to do, where it wants to go. But there was a ICC trade that played out actually this morning, so I can show you guys that. And that was at 6 a.m. So here we have this high marked off, right? Because we had this low, lower high, lower low, lower high, higher low, higher high, right? So being that we are overall in a bullish trend, you always want to stick with the trend, right? So at 6 a.m., I'm going to drop down to the 5 minute to make this a little quicker. And this is the only thing that I do to read market structure. Let me see, am I able to? Okay, so I have to keep that on. I'm actually going to make my line smaller just so it's not throwing anyone off. So give me 1 second. Okay, that's perfect. So let's see. Now, just to preface, here is the 5 minute time frame, right? So price indicated out, pull it back, candle closure below, which is technically our correction. And then we got a candle closure back above. Okay, so doing ICC on the 5 minute time frame would have worked out perfectly. But I like to do my entries on the 1 minute time frame just because a lot of times you will miss the trade, which would have played out on the 1 minute compared to the 5 minute time frame. So that's why I personally love to stick with the 1 minute time frame. Okay. But now I'm going to drop down to the 1 minute. And then we're going to pull back to 6 a.m. And let's see. So at 6 a.m., see price pull back a little bit, but then we did get an indication above. My kitty cat just jumped in a box. Okay, but yes, we did get an indication above here. Right? So all of this is the indication. Price came back below the swing level, right? Even though it's a small candle closure below, that's enough confirmation for me, okay? And as I've stated, I like to just set my stop loss at 30 points because it seems like price respects the 30-point mark for some reason, just based off of the algorithm and the whole nine. So yeah, ultimately this would have been a winning trade at 6 a.m. because, you know, the correction was a candle closure below this previous swing high, or at the time most recent swing high, and then a candle closure back above the level is signaling price wants to continue higher. You know, you would have set your limit order to get tagged in. You would have had a little consolidation, but one thing I really want to do more this week is holding my trades through instead of, you know, when price hits my 1-to-1 and then moving my stop loss into profit. This week I want to just focus on holding my trades all the way through. If I break even, that's just what it'll be. So that's something that I'm striving on to do more of this week. But all in all, ICC still played out here. It took about 2 hours, like 2.5 hours for this trade to play out, but nonetheless would have had partial secure in the whole nine. So yes, I did want to come and upload this video just because, you know, it's Monday, right? So we just want to make sure we have our eyes on the prize. We know what we're looking for. And I'm actually, this is what I will do as well. I'll do just like a little back test. Okay. So we'll do it. Let me see, because we want to get tagged back in. So yeah, so we had our indication, correction, candle closure back above would have been here. So this is what I'll do. And also TradingView, they have updated their platform. So now you can set limit orders, which is so cool. You were not able to do this before. So here's our limit order, right? And then, as we know, when we are bullish, we will have a sell stop, okay, at our stop loss area down here. And then for our 1-to-2, of course, we're going to take partial. So we're going to do sell limit order, which is 3 contracts off at 1-to-1, sell, and then 3 more contracts off at 1-to-2. And that 1-to-1 is what's going to raise your profitability because you're securing something. Being profitable just means you're making money in some way, shape, fashion, or form. Okay, it doesn't have to be $800 a day. As long as you're securing something and you're losing less than you're losing less than you're winning, you're in good shape. Okay, so I'm going to pull up to the 5-minute just so we can see this play out better and it won't take as long. And I'm also going to slow this down so it's not just whipping through. Okay, but as we can see, in profit, went negative a couple times. All right, and that was a trade. Now, I don't know why all these extra lines popped up, but yes, but all in all, that would have been a $538 trade, okay? So that's why I love taking partials. I love setting my stop loss at the 30 points. That right there is how you, you would set up your orders. And the other thing as well, when you are in a trade, once your 1-to-1 gets hit, you want to delete your original stop loss, which in this case would have been our sales stop that has 6 points, and I would have adjusted it to 3 contracts, and then entered that order. Okay, so all in all, that's it for today. That's basically just what I'm looking for, what I'm potentially seeing that could play out for today. Like I said, we have these sellers sitting at these highs. But yes, you guys, so again, I just let market structure show me what it wants to do. So we have this swing right here that could be getting printed right now. We have 51 more minutes until we know for sure. But if price decides to whip back around at this next candle opening and make its way up here through this potential swing high that's being created, I will look for ICC to play out on the 1 minute time frame at this high. So my bias is going to stay bullish until price shows me otherwise. So hopefully this video helped you guys. I know it's kind of long, but I like it to be thorough. But yes, you guys, I will see you all in my next video.